Oh, awesome. All right. I am going to back up these slides. Otsego. All right. I know where that is. I lived in Dayton for a while. All right. In Plymouth, welcome. So I'm going to let you know I'm going to stop or start recording. Maybe. Kelly, did you already start the recording?
Yes, I've already started recording.
Wonderful. All right, so if you want or need captions, here's a slide for you. There's a CC button at the bottom of the Zoom window. So kind of depending on your device, you can typically hover over the bottom of your screen. If you do not see the button, try looking for the button with 3 dots and it says more. And once you find the captions button, clicking on it toggles the captions on or off. All right, I am Ellie McCann. I am a University of Minnesota Extension educator. My primary role is within the, well, both Kelly and I are within the Department of Family, Health, and Wellbeing. I am within our area, I am in family resiliency. So most of my, well, 100% of my time is focused on parenting programs. And my office is located at the Urban Research and Outreach Center in North Minneapolis. So I'll let Kelly introduce herself.
Thank you, Ellie. Hello, everyone. My name is Kelly Kunkel, and I'm an extension educator with the University of Minnesota Extension as well. I'm with health and nutrition, and so most of my work is centered around work with health and well-being. And so it's great to be here today.
All right, so this is kind of our road trip for the next hour. We won't keep you here all day. We're going to learn about the developmental affirmations and review a book called Words That Help: Affirmations for Any Age, Every Stage. We have a bonus objective. We are going to go through some of the offerings that we have related to how to counter overindulgence. So let's go ahead and dig in. Jean Illsley Clarke was our partner, and in 2011, Jean invited us to a week-long training around parenting, overindulgence and parenting. And that training really led to a 10-year partnership with Jean with the goal of getting Jean's work online to parents for free. So we will talk about the courses and the books that have been developed through that 10-year partnership. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to start by digging into Jean's last book that she published, and it's here on the screen. And I think Kelly has put a link into the chat, or will put a link into the chat. And we would like you to open up that book. Let's see here. So, kind of the first piece about this book is Jean was married to Dick Clarke. Can you imagine? She always said, yeah, can you imagine? I was married to Dick Clarke, for those of you who know Dick Clarke. So, and she talked about Dick is the one who gave her the idea for affirmations. Dick said, give us words. And then he stayed for the whole journey. Sorry. So what I would like to do is really give us kind of a run through of the different sections of the book. So it's broken down into 5 sections. And in each of those sections, Jean organized the book by questions, okay? So section 1 is questions about the affirmations. First, she asks, what are developmental affirmations? And they are positive messages that help support health and growth. And they can be given from one person to another, or you can give them to yourself. The second is, where can I find a list of developmental affirmations? And Kelly will put that link into the chat here in just a second. And you will be able to see a full list of the affirmations. What are the colored affirmation ovals? I'm going to get a set of them here. So these are the affirmation ovals. There we go. And they kind of just, you can purchase these sometimes where the ovals pop out. So they're color-coded oval discs with an affirmation printed on each one. And a big question we get is, why are they in the shape of an oval? The oval is a symbol of constantly renewing life and of hope. And that was Jean's design. The sequence of colors of the affirmation represents the rainbow to remind us that moving through developmental stages is a natural and sequential process. So there is a different color associated with each different set of developmental learnings. What are the affirmations for? They're designed for the entire lifespan. And why might you want to use them? They really are intended to help support people of all ages, excuse me, to navigate the learning that happens at each developmental stage. The second is how to use the developmental affirmations. Excuse me. Question 6, how are the developmental affirmations used? You can offer them directly to support children, others, adults, siblings, friends, or you can offer them to yourself. And we'll talk more about how you can use them a little later in the hour. Can I do activities with the developmental affirmations? As Jean wrote in the book, oh yes. You can invent games, activities that fit the ages and stages of people you are with. Every time Kelly and I and our team met with Jean at her house, she had stacks and bowls of affirmations out, and she had a new activity every time we met with her. So they're really fun to play around with. Can I use them for myself? Absolutely. They are all healthy messages. Use them in any way that's helpful to you. Can I write my own affirmations? Write whatever you need to hear. Just be sure to keep your affirmations positive with no buts, ifs, or whens. Okay? No qualifiers in there. All right. And this slide continued. What if you haven't been offering these affirmations and wish you had? You can start today. Give them to yourself and others. Try them out today. When do you not offer developmental affirmations? Don't give an affirmation to someone else at a moment when you are angry, or when you feel yourself not feeling or believing it. If you do give one that you don't believe, people may pick up on that double message and feel confused, or they won't trust it instead. Don't offer a message with a but, if or when. I love you when you are helpful is a condition, not an affirmation. What if you or someone else does not believe in an affirmation? No one is to be criticized for not understanding, wanting, or believing in an affirmation, yourself included. Sometimes people love affirmations and they just eat them up. Sometimes they say they're nice. Some people have said to me, I just don't get it. So trust people and know what they need and move at a pace that's helpful to them or to yourself. Don't give a message to others unless you believe it, for the same reason I mentioned earlier. And you can give yourself affirmations that you wish you believed. You will be tapping into a healthy, loving part of yourself. 14, how can professionals integrate developmental affirmations in their work? There's a lot of different ways you can do this. We'll talk about this quite a bit more later, but they can be used to integrate at any time into your professional career in a helping field, as far as teaching about development, parenting, or personal growth. As I said, we use them as openers and closers to meetings. So that's one way they could be incorporated. All right, let's see, next slide. The next section is on the affirmation ovals. Why use the colored oval discs? And why not just use a list of affirmations? You can feel free to use both. People learn better when they engage with more of their senses. So if they see, hear, and do something, they will retain more of that message. The next is, what is the subset of affirmations called the love affirmations? The love affirmations are the ones that say, I love you unconditionally for being yourself and for doing the developmental tasks at your age or stage. They're messages that are placed at the right ends of the bookmarks. So they're all on the right-hand side. And it looks like it's your left because it's mirrored here, but all right. Let's see. Developmental stages. What are the developmental stages of growing up? A developmental stage is a period during a person's life which can be expected to focus on certain age-appropriate tasks. As we grow through those developmental stages, we make some pretty powerful decisions about ourselves based on how we interpret the world and how people in our space and around us respond to us. So that includes how we're taken care of, what caregivers tell us about ourselves, how they treat us, and how we see them treat others. The stages of life are adapted from Erickson's 7 stages, and it also includes a prenatal stage and an integration stage at the end of life. What if I don't know about the developmental stages? It's a good time to start learning, and this book is one place you can start doing that. 19 is, how are developmental affirmations and stages connected? One of the easiest ways to link the developmental affirmations to the stages of development is to compare the list of affirmations with the list of jobs of that developmental stage, which this question in the book dives deep into. So if you're interested in that, you can click on this question in the book. And number 20 is what is developmental recycling? And recycling is really the name given to the natural process of revisiting earlier developmental tasks and learning to do them in a more sophisticated way. Each time we recycle a developmental stage, the affirmations for that stage are especially supportive and may need to new and different meanings for each of us. And the last is a little bit of history and background. On the right-hand slide or picture on the slide, that is a picture of Jean. And the left is Connie Dawson. So these two amazing authors and developmentalists, with the help of developmental theories and of many, many more people, identified the developmental affirmations. Connie devised the whole integration set for the preparing for the end of life stage. Who field tested the affirmations? Each developmental set of affirmations was field tested by specialists working within that specific developmental stage, and it included parents, teachers, nurses, social workers, many different professions that work with families. When were the developmental tasks identified? Really over the course of many, many years, but it started from 1976 until present. It was Jean's hope that they will always be examined and added to. And why were they identified? Really in response to the request from, like I said, Dick, her husband, but also many parents and members of healthcare professions, to see if it would help busy adults hear simple reminders of ways to be supportive of the child's and their own important learning at each developmental stage, and to remind parents and other caregivers to provide an environment that people can stay healthy and absorb those learnings. The last question is, what thoughts, values, and theories underlie the developmental affirmations? They really spring from a lot of different beliefs that people need to be encouraged to care for themselves and for others. The theory behind the affirmations is that people are more encouraged when they are helped to think clearly for themselves than when they are told what to think by someone else. And as I said earlier, they are grounded in Erikson's concept of psychological developmental stages. Did everyone get a chance to get the book open?
So I just put the book back in the chat, and this is for a challenge for us. We would really like you to get into and really dig into the book and find out more about developmental affirmations. And to do so, we're going to ask that you download the book, and you can use the digital PDF of the book to find that information. And we're going to ask you 5 questions about the content in the book. And let's see how quickly you can find the answer in the book. And when you find the answer, put the answer in the chat. Are we ready? All right, the first question is, the colors of the developmental affirmations ovals reflect the rainbow. True or false? True is coming in very quickly. Wonderful. That is the correct answer. And you will find the answer on page 10 through 12. That's question 3 in the book. And again, the ovals represent that new birth, rebirth, and life, but they also reflect the colors of the rainbow. And it goes through the different stages. 1 being, which is red, and that's 0 to 6 months of age. Then we have 2 is doing, which is orange, and that's the 6 through 18 months. Then 3 is yellow, and that's 18 through 3 years. Then 4 is power and identity. That's green, and that's 3 to 6 years of age. Then we have structure, 5. That's light blue for 6 to 12-year-olds. And then 6 is identity, sexuality, and separation, which is the dark blue or adolescence. And then 7 is interdependence. That's purple for the adult years. There's also the series of the white strip as well. And this is the integration stage, or old age, or preparing for death. And since age really doesn't have a bearing on death, it doesn't have an age group. And so that's the color of the white one. So yes, those colors are very important as we look at those ovals and as we look at those developmental affirmations. So our next question, I cannot do activities with developmental affirmations. True or false? I cannot do. And Ashley hit it running as false. Lots of falses. That is the correct answer. And you'll find that in your book on page 18 and 20, question 7. So yes, you can absolutely do activities with your developmental affirmations. You can use them in many different ways. You can use them as a strip, as a bookmarker. You can stick them in your bathroom mirror or your refrigerator. You can carry them in a wallet or a purse or a backpack. You can use them as a screensaver. You can set them out as an activity, an opener for an activity. I know Ellie and I have a bowl of affirmations on our desk. And so what I will do in the morning when I start work is I'll pull one of those affirmations out of my bowl and read it and see if that feels good to me, if that kind of resonates with me, and I may set that as my intention for the day. Ellie talked about the fact that we always used those affirmations for our meeting openers. And one of the ways that we would use them is we would pull 3 affirmations out that kind of set the tone for how we wanted our meeting to go. And then we would share back to the larger group those different affirmations that we wanted to set as our intention for our meeting.
Ellie, I love when people stop by my office to dig into the affirmations jar. They hand it to me so I can read it to them. I love that.
Yes, I do too. And it's surprising to me, as I often will randomly pick out one out of the bowl, how that affirmation almost seems like the one I really needed for that day. Like I'm almost drawn to that particular affirmation. Ellie, have you found that too? Yes. Yeah. All right. Are we ready for the next question? What is the subset of affirmations called the love affirmations? What are they? Is affirmations for couples only? They're affirmations that reflect unconditional love. They affirm affirmations that hurt. Or D, affirmations only for children. I love this. I'm seeing a lot of B's because that's what it is. That's the answer. Affirmations that reflect unconditional love. You'll find that answer to the question on page 50 in your book, question 18. Self-esteem is the gift of love that most of us would want to give our children, our grandchildren, those children in our in our home, in our lives. And so making sure that that is unconditional love, not without the, as Ellie said, the buts and ifs and whens. Those are those love affirmations. And yes, we will send that link to the book again and put it into the chat. Ellie is doing that right now. Oh, here, I can do that right now. And there it is. And then also we will follow up this meeting with all of the links that we're talking about. So if you feel like you can't remember all those links or save them in some place, we will be certain to send those off to you so that you can use them later. All right, next question. What is developmental recycling? A, skills that can be claimed in a positive way later in life. B, can recycle or build on skills learned earlier. D, may need to be addressed again and again. Or D, all of the above. Okay, we have such smart people on this webinar, and the answer is D. That's what I'm seeing. And you will find that in the book on from pages 61 to 75, question 20. And those recycling is the name given to the natural process of revisiting early developmental tasks and learning to do them in a more sophisticated or a different way. And it may be triggered by natural events in life, like a birth of a child or a separation. And then each time we recycle a developmental stage, the affirmations for that stage are especially supportive and may lead to new levels of learning for us. And our next question. Why were the developmental affirmations identified? A, because they help only children. B, because they help only adults. C, they were requested by parents and healthcare professionals. Or D, there's no need for affirmations. Yes, again, you are correct. The answer is C, and that is requested by parents and healthcare professionals. You'll find that in the book on page 91, question 24. It was in response to the request for many parents and members of healthcare professionals to see if it would help busy adults to learn simple reminders of ways to be supportive of their children's and their own important learning at each stage, and to remind parents and caregivers to provide the environment to which people can absorb those learnings. We are done with our quiz, and everybody did great.
What a group we have here today. This is so fun. All right, so next, I really want all of you to think a little bit about the why, okay? Come up with some reasons about why people should use, have used the developmental affirmations, and put your ideas in the chat. And there's no right or wrong answer here. Well, here they come. To raise emotionally healthy children, support your kids in growth, build confidence, give yourself or someone a pep talk, understanding you are where you should be or that you are not alone. Great. Verbalize our feelings to those we care about, keep our self-esteem in check, help us feel better about ourselves, structure, build trust and confidence, encouraging others and self, to help people through uncertainty, show support. Excellent. Great. All right. Give connection and build self-esteem. Sometimes you just need affirmation. Build confidence, compassion, and acceptance. Wow. Support through transition. Absolutely. So I'm going to put up next what Jean has in the book about why. They can be life-supporting messages that give people hope and direction for growth and help. So exactly what you said, worded a little bit differently. They can help us care for ourselves and others, to help support people of all ages navigating the learning of developmental tasks that are significant at each stage of life. They can offer adults a chance to evaluate old decisions and make some new ones. I love that one. They can help build the foundation for both adults and children to make effective decisions about life. They can remind parents and others to provide an environment that supports both children and adults in making these life-supporting decisions. They are especially helpful for people who are going through periods of stress and uncertainty, like transitions that many of you have said. Any of us can draw from strengths from the affirmations, especially those from family systems where nurturing was uneven, and families where substances were misused and or children were neglected or abused. Also for those who are recovering from deficits in growing up, these affirmations offer kind of a roadmap to recovery. And for those who experienced hostility, rejection, or violence while growing up, these affirmations help one to learn about a childhood environment that would have been healthier. So it's never too late to heal those early wounds. Any questions about the why before Kelly starts talking about some examples? All right, we'll have more time for questions at the end.
Absolutely. And again, please know that the links that we put into the chat will be shared with you after the webinar in our follow-up letter. And so saying, I'm going to be putting up a link to a program that we have called You Got This. So Ellie and I have been using developmental affirmations in other program areas as well. And so a couple of different examples, the text messaging programs that we have. We have two, one called Start Strong, which is for childcare providers. And then so that the children in their care get those developmental affirmations throughout the day or throughout the week. But another is You Got This. And this is also a text messaging program that we have. Now, I want you to think back a few years as with COVID in isolation and students were starting to go back to school in the fall of the year, and parents were so busy and things were so in such turmoil. And we realized that parents and caregivers were not in a place they would sit down and take a parenting class necessarily, but they still needed that support and encouragement during this time. That's the reason You Got This. We started a text messaging program for parents and caregivers of children 0 to 18 years of age, and parents and caregivers received 2 messages a week on a variety of different topics on nutrition and health and physical activity and parenting and reducing stress and stress management and school readiness, but also developmental affirmations. The affirmations are for their children, but they're also for the parents, and they can say them to themselves. And the the affirmations, the text messaging program is in English and in Spanish. So you can choose which program you would like. And we would really encourage you to sign up for getting affirmations, but also if you have a group or a program that you think somebody might benefit from, please let us know and we can get some flyers out to you on how to share this text messaging program. What we found is that while we had initially decided we were just going to do it that first year as students were going back to school, parents and caregivers overwhelmingly said, we still need support. We still want to get these messages throughout the year. And so we have continued to offer it. We said during the school year was when we were going to do it, but we also found out that parents and caregivers wanted it all year round, not just the school year. They wanted to have that encouragement year round. So I see there's some questions about how to get that information, and we will be sure to send that to you.
A couple additional ways that we have used affirmations in our work. I've done several webinars on family strengths, and we have incorporated affirmations into the strength about appreciation. And at the beginning of COVID, a grant partner asked for ideas for individuals that were struggling, and we were able to send packets of affirmations with a fact sheet on how to use them.
So what are some additional ways that you can use these affirmations? Some of these are going to be repeat, and we learn by repetition, so bear with us, but say them to yourself and act them out. How would you act as you were saying those affirmations? You can rewrite them in your own words. Jean would love to see new affirmations all of the time. And so rewriting them, or if you have, for example, a teenager, and that teenager doesn't like the way that affirmation sounds, but you're so sincere about it, ask your teenager, how do you say it? Let's reword this affirmation. You can carry them in your wallet or your purse or your cell phone, tape them to the mirror or the cupboard or the dashboard of your car. You can tell an affirmation to a trusted friend. I use them as passwords. So every time I go into something, I use an affirmation. I use different ones, and it just is it feels good to get that affirmation when I go in and go enter my computer, and it's just a reminder how helpful that is. Put them in a lunchbox, put them in your children's backpacks, put them in their coat pockets in different places. Carry them in your pocket and share them, or put them, as Ellie and I do, on your desk in a bowl, because we enjoy
a postcard I got from Jean once, and she just taped an affirmation to the postcard. I love that.
I love that. I have sent affirmations and greeting cards. So it might be a birthday, and I'll put 2 or 3 different affirmations in. Confetti is a mess, but affirmations stay intact. And it's kind of a nice way to give an affirmation to a friend or a loved one. So how do you see yourself using these affirmations? And I'd like you to share your ideas in the chat, or you can unmute yourself. And Ellie, I know you have an example of a great way to use affirmations.
So I have a 2.5-year-old granddaughter, and she was at the top of her little slide that was going down into her kiddie pool. And the first few times she went, she got to the top of the slide, and my daughter heard her talking to herself. And she said, "Go, Millie, you're a brave, brave girl." And she went down. So
I
they
love
catch
that.
all of us.
So there's some great examples here. Keeping a positive mindset, sharing with friends, and posting in my on my mirror. I plan to post them on my daily Facebook, Instagram stories. I love that. Sticky notes. Oh yeah, sticky notes on a mirror. So sweet. I love that story. Speaking to my son. Yeah, writing in a daily journal. Absolutely. Great suggestions on how to use those affirmations.
I also love somebody on one of our webinars once talked about putting them in lunch boxes. And I was someone who loved to write notes in lunch boxes. So I just think that's a great idea. Sticky notes on your kids' bedroom doors. I love that. Ooh, during morning yoga practice.
Nice. Oh, fridge whiteboard. Yes. Making up chants with hiking with my grandchildren.
Oh, that's great.
I like that. Yeah, you can sing them, you can rhyme them, you can just tell stories about those affirmations. Right.
All right. Great job again. Next, I would like to go over the other pieces that we developed with Jean on how to counter overindulgence in parenting. And we will give you the link to this website in our follow-up email. But this is the overall page. So it starts by understanding overindulgence. And then towards the bottom of the page, but I feel like it is the piece that helps parents and grandparents and others understand this tool called the Test of 4 to use on how to counter overindulgence. So I like to start with this. And I will show you a nice image of the Test of 4. So it's really 4 questions and that you ask yourself about one situation at a time. And a yes response to questions in any of the 4 is a signal that overindulgence exists or it might occur. So the first one is about developmental tasks. Will doing or giving this keep my child from learning what they need to learn at this age? So we have a fact sheet on the website that takes us through these questions about buying a child a cell phone. So that might be an example that you ask these questions about. Family resources. Will doing or giving this deplete or otherwise harm others, the community, or the environment in some way? Whose needs? Will doing or giving this benefit you more than the child? And we have that instead of then. Will doing or giving this insist that the child focus on activities you like, but are counter to the child's interest and abilities? And possible harm? Will doing or giving this use a disproportionate amount of family resources, including money, space, time, energy, or attention to meet the wants, not the needs, of one or more of the children? Towards the top of our webpage is the first course that we developed, and it's called Parenting in the Age of Overindulgence. Just keep in mind, all of these courses are free. So if you're a parent who is concerned about giving too much to your children, or about finding out how overindulgence affects families, then this course may be for you. We have a lot of professionals who have also taken this course. Maybe they work with parents or they work with families. because it really helps you understand what is overindulgence, how to use the tools to identify and address overindulgence. And you can hear and see different examples of overindulgence. Kelly is in nutrition, so we have some nutrition examples. I'm in parenting. I have a story about getting dressed. And we have Becky, who is in finance. So we have some financial examples and purchasing. Let's see, the next is Parenting with a Good Heart. This is an online course based on the second picture here of a small book called Good Heart Parenting, A Journey of Love and Strength. They are both available for free on our website. The course is divided into 2 1-hour sections. The first really talks about how overindulgence comes from a good heart. What are your family values? Has overindulgence become kind of the new normal in your family? And it really talks about how important it is to be brain aware. The second part identifies as 3 different types of overindulgence and what you can do instead. It flips the negative pieces of overindulgence into positive. It uses, there's some different examples of the test of 4 and how to use the developmental parenting highway to kind of stay on the road in your parenting journey. And then the booklet describes 2 families who highlight the need for both parental love and parental strength in order to deal with the messages they constantly get to overindulge their children. And then the last course that is free as well is a Developmental Parenting Highway course. It really describes why parenting is kind of like driving on a highway. Sometimes you go in the ditches and you have to figure out how to steer and get back on the road. My daughter is expecting right now in a few weeks, and the 2.5-year-old's kind of off the rails right now. So she's working on how to steer back before baby comes. So all kinds of different situations. And identifying strengths of each of the lanes of the highway.
Great. Thank you, Ellie. Please be sure to put your questions in the chat or unmute yourself. I have a comment from Catherine, and she said that tool, the test of 4, it's difficult for me to use as I have 2 special needs children. What might you say to Catherine, how she could use that test of 4 with her special needs children?
I guess I would like to hear a little bit more from Catherine, kind of specifically. I think because when I think about the developmental tasks, I think about where your kids are as far as their development specifically. So we're not saying just the overall developmental tasks. We want you to focus on your children and where they're at. Does that make sense, Catherine? And if you
Yes,
want,
it does. Thank you.
okay, if you want, please email us, because I would love to have a follow-up conversation with you.
Okay. Yeah, the part that was difficult for me was the allocation of resources. And when they are so, they need a lot of resources, and one child is usually suffering while the other is getting what they need.
Right.
Not suffering, but a little ignored.
And so trying to find that balance. Absolutely.
Yes.
So please feel free to reach out.
Thank you. Question about how can I get the affirmation ovals? And there in your book that you can download, there are the ovals are in there. You can cut them apart. There's also a link to purchasing the ovals. And so we'll send that out in the follow-up email as well. And then somebody prompted us about the wellness points. So perfect timing. I know that's a question that people have. There we go. But Ellie and I would first like to thank you. Please contact us with any of your questions about developmental affirmations. Here's our contact information. And about the evaluation, please fill out the evaluation. And Ellie will be putting that into the chat. And we want you to fill that out. If you want a certificate, back. Okay, thank you. If you want a certificate,
Sorry.
that's okay. If you would like a certificate of participation, as you're filling out that evaluation, you will get that information. Here, I'm going to see if I can't. It's not going in there. Let's see. And then if you want well-being points, if you'd like the well-being points, you're going to want to complete the evaluation form and follow the link to request the points. And when you go to the evaluation, it will ask you the category of the webinar that you attended, and you will want parenting and relationships. So click on parenting and relationships, and then it will take you to the developmental affirmations evaluation. Please note that when you complete your evaluation and you're looking at your well-being points and how many you've earned, that the employee account will be done on during the first week of the month following the webinar. So it might be a delayed amount of time. So please keep that in mind. But to get well-being points, you do need to fill out the evaluation. Another question. Where can I find additional University of Minnesota parenting courses? I see the classes you recommended, but how do I stay on the lookout for future?
Really good question. And since I am sharing my slide, I cannot put links into the chat, but Tony, I will definitely add some links to our follow-up email.
Okay, I just put the evaluation link into the chat now.
Great.
So you should have that evaluation link. So finding out how to get more information, we've got our webinars. We've got over the summer 9 series and 32 webinars. But to get more information, just remember to follow us, engage with us on social media. That's a great way to find out about new classes that are coming up. Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, all of those items, and again, we'll follow up with these links. You missed the first half, but excited to listen to the recording. It helps so much for me as a grandma. Yes, absolutely. And that overindulgence information, share that with grandparents, because guess what? Grandparents can overindulge as well, and I'm sure you know that. And so
Really?
Yes. The recording. People always want to know about how can I get that recording, and that recording will be on YouTube later on after it gets edited and things get titled with the transcription. So you will find it on our Family, Health, and Wellbeing YouTube, and we'll be sure to include that in that follow-up letter as well.
Any other questions for us? You have been a fantastic group. Thanks for spending this hour with us.
And we'll hang out just a little bit longer for personal questions.
Thank you all so much.